Hi, and welcome to the Golf and Chess podcast here. I'm here today with Mr. Dodgy. How is your life at the moment? Tell us about it.
Hi Pierre, hi everyone. I'm doing good today, and we did just talk for a while, thinking about what we should actually speak about this week. And I remembered that you have huge golf news.
Exactly, yeah, I cannot contain myself, so I have to brag about it. But I made a hole-in-one yesterday, which is basically, well, you move a ball 140 meters and it goes into a hole. And I was there even with Magnus, sort of preparing for his Chessable Masters final against Firusha, and the effect on him we saw. He managed to recover in the end, but we'll come back to that. But basically, I made a hole-in-one, and that sounds like an incredible amount of skill, right? You take a golf club, you move a ball 140 meters, and it falls into a very small hole. That's how I like to describe it. But reality is that the course was completely hopeless yesterday, so we couldn't move the ball that far. So basically, you are supposed to take a club of precision, but I just took my driver, which is basically this brute force thing that just hurls it up in the air and moves the ball far away. So I did that, and I thought, I hit the ball. Where did it land? I asked Magnus. He said, somewhere near the green. So we went there and we started looking for the ball. And at some point I looked in the hole and it was lying there. So, I think it's 1 in a 10,000 chance that will actually happen. Perhaps not the way you want it to happen because it was luck. On the other hand, maybe that's exactly how you want it to happen. I don't know. But
do we need to get Kramnik to investigate the chances?
Yeah. It's true. Accuracy is 100%, right? So that I have managed that once in my life. So that was great. And sort of per tradition, I was supposed to buy drinks for the whole club, but there was absolutely no one there. It's beginning of February, very wet, and so on and so forth. So I got away with one there. But no, that was the highlight of my golfing career, never to be beat. So I'm on an emotional high in many ways. But
if you do it 47 times out of the next 48 holes, then I would be very suspicious.
Yeah, that is true. But I think they're only saying that it's the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il, I think his name. He claims to have made 5 in one round, but it's not fully verified yet. There, I think actually Kramnik would have grounds for suspicion.
But possibly.
Anyway, there's an odd chance that some of our listeners also wants to hear about chess, actually. So
we're not talking about any chess this week. I think it's mostly about hotel rooms and that is where and
yeah. If they hang on, we will talk a little bit about chess 960. At least
that's true.
In the ballpark, yeah. But what's the biggest controversy this week?
Yeah, there's been a couple of big controversies. So Hans Niemann has been banned. Well, yeah, I guess banned is correct. He's been banned from the St. Louis Chess Club for 1 year. They gave kind of several vague reasons, but the kind of main reason seems to be that he trashed the hotel room after the US Championships. And he's kind of disputed some of their... Well, they didn't really make any specific claims in their letter, so it's kind of hard to dispute anything. But he has said that, that he had already not been invited for a year. They're basically just using this as an excuse to continue their shadow.
For a start, let's talk about the hotel. I think it's called the Chase Park. It's a very, very large traditional American hotel. In the lobby, you will see pictures of several U.S. presidents who has visited them. I think also movie stars, perhaps Monroe, and I forgot who else it was. Apparently, I paid mainly attention to her. And you can see it's a very beautiful and very traditional hotel, right? So I would say trashing a room there with their regular partner, getting you a 1 year ban is not that bad. I don't know if you can follow me. Or you think
he does appear to be banned from the hotel for life.
Okay. That strikes me as rather normal. I haven't trashed that many hotel rooms myself. I don't know about you, but
No, I've never... I'm not a particularly sore loser. Like, I don't mean this as a an insult to anyone else, but like I don't really get that upset after losing games of chess.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I've never really played for serious stakes either, so like, it doesn't.
That's the confidence that comes from being successful in other spheres of life. I mean, for us, our identity is just so much built up with the result of a chess game. You seriously don't get upset by losing?
No, well, I mean, I don't get angry for sure. It definitely affects my sleep. Like, it's very hard for me to sleep after a loss, for sure.
Okay.
But also, I think in general, like after a very long win or a very long draw, it also messes with my sleep. It takes me a while to come down from that, but
it's more the exhaustions rather than the emotions. You're saying in a way.
Yeah. I'm not someone who gets angry.
But also, without insulting you, I mean, you're not an elite player.
No, for sure. I mean, it's still. I do think there is a similarity with classical chess, more or less at all levels, though. I think I think that's one of the things that kind of interesting about chess is that like even if you're like 12 or 1300, if you lose a game over 4 or 5 hours, it really is difficult. Obviously, it's not the same as a world championship match, but you know, like there's definitely a thread connecting those two experiences that you probably don't really get at other sports.
No, I thought so actually, because I remember at some point maybe it was a social occasion, some kind of dinner party, but I think the wife of like a 1500 player was explaining to me, yeah, if my husband loses, I mean, it completely ruins his next day and a little sleep and such. And I was a bit puzzled. I thought, okay, isn't it just like me playing football? But I think you're right, that chess has this kind of effect. So, I mean, no, that's why I was very puzzled with what you said in that respect, because I thought that it's not much talked about. Maybe it should, but it would be interesting to have some research in that area, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm unusual in this respect. Like other amateur players that I know tend to take it a lot harder. That's my impression.
No, I mean, on top level, I would mention, I don't know how much Topalov cares if he loses. And I also remember speaking to Larsen, who said, yeah, it's a pity I lost, but of course then I would try to win the next day, and it seems to not affect him too much. But it's not how I see it generally. Anyway, about the hands thing, I mean, they were giving quite some details. I mean, they did mention a broken mirror that sort of, spew glass pieces onto a sofa.
Okay, so there's two descriptions of what happened. One was an anonymous account on Reddit, and one was an account from Hans himself. And they gave two, for some reason, like they gave more or less the same amount of items, but they were different items. So I think, one of them said he smashed the table. Hans said he ripped the couch. One of them said he smashed the mirror. Hans said it was a picture. Like, it was all kind of stuff like this, which was very strange to me. It was kind of all slightly different, but basically the same things. And he was fined like $5,000 from the hotel, which I'm not much.
Well, I mean, you mean not fined, you mean billed for damages, right? It's not like, they cannot impose a fine.
Well, yeah, he was billed, and I guess, from what Hans himself said, there was a report made to the police, so I guess this was the compromise for being not pressing charges. Because this is criminal damage. Sure.
Yeah. You're saying that it can even be criminal damage in terms of that there can be some kind of extra punishment. It's not just a legal matter in terms of expenses.
I guess I don't think he would go to prison or anything like that. But no. It's definitely something that could be taken to court at least.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hassle.
I would assume the normal thing would be to solve it in a sort of agreeable way, right? I mean, at least if the offense is admitted, which I guess it's hard not to in a way. But also, I mean, I'm sure there is players who has been very angry and kick something, and then they can sort of, pass it on as an accident and quietly pay for the item. I mean, I had to pay for a chair that was due to overweight and it broke, but you can always use excuses like that, right? I mean, it should be possible.
Yeah, I think generally these things get dealt with quietly, right? It's very rare that this comes out so publicly.
It sounds like something that's gotten pretty much out of hand, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the other side of that, the whole thing, is that Hans is very upset that he hasn't been invited to the St. Louis Chess Club last year. Now he won't be invited to any events this year. And I do understand why he's so upset about that, because St. Louis Chess Club provides such an extraordinary amount of money to chess players. I think the American
and opportunities as well. I mean, but
yeah, I mean the American Cup is next month, and it's a $400,000 prize fund, which is
no. I mean, they are overpaying financially. They're overpaying in terms of sporting possibilities and such. Of course, that is. I mean, you would almost rather be banned by FIDE, right? Of course, this sort of will into the act, but yeah.
Yeah, so, but I mean, I guess that's kind of the main thing. Well, I mean, I don't think anybody really thinks that it's okay to trash a hotel room, and I don't think I think it's kind of reasonable for the hotel to ban him, and it's reasonable for the club to say, we don't want.
In general, don't you think that, I mean, despite Sinkfield being such a power factor due to his sponsorships, isn't he completely entitled to invite whoever he wants?
I mean, that's my feeling. Yeah, like I think he's a private organizer, or I'm not sure how much Rex is involved with like actually inviting people, but
no clue.
The club is a private organization.
I mean, in principle, he has the final say, I would assume, right? I mean, he can say that he can just go and say no without a reason, and that's then his word is law, I assume, right?
Yeah, I think that would be fair. And also, like, if he really wanted to invite Hans, like, he could just say, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the one that's paying the bills. But my impression is that like this is a private organizer, and you are basically being invited into his house. Like I don't think he's doing that. And if he wants to invite you into his house, that's entirely up to him. I guess the question is this a problem for the chess world that like so many of these, almost all of the big tournaments are organized by like private organizers? If you annoy the wrong people, you basically, and like I think St. Louis is the biggest example because they do multiple events. But Norwich Chess and Tata Steel are also private tournaments. Grenka has come back this year. That's another private one. Like if you were to rely only on FIDE tournaments or your national federations tournaments, you wouldn't really play a lot of chess. Is my impression.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a big problem.
Let's discuss that. But first, when you say, well, invite into his private house. Well, that's not technically true, but it's close to. I remember, I mean, Rex always comes to the tournaments and he sits sort of front row in the video room. And, he's always been incredibly kind to me. But once I basically, because I don't see well, I placed myself in his field of vision for following the games. And, there he sort of politely joked me, okay, just get out of my way. I mean, I think it's literally his place, right? He sits there, he follows the games, and this is his hobby.
I think any spectator would be entitled to tell you to move out.
Yeah. No. But I want to say is that, I mean, I think Rex, he would like to follow Chop Chess, and it's easier for him to pay the bills and invite everybody who comes to St. Louis than he would have to travel around the world. He likes to support things as well and such. But basically, I think it's comfortable for him. He can go out of his house, walk down to the chess club for how small distance that is, and just follow this super event. So basically, things are organized in exactly the way that Rex can follow it from home. So there is a lot of truth in that. And I think this general thing you are saying is that, of course, it gives too much power to organizers if you want a fully democratic sport. I mean, but we are not tennis or we are not golf in a way, right? I mean, the problem is also they provide so much more money and sponsorship. I mean, again, this is also a FIDE podcast. In an ideal world, of course, FIDE would generate so much income and opportunities that we could have some kind of more democratic structure. But we are just not near that stage, right? So I think for practical reasons, such organizers are incredibly popular and rightly so.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely not a criticism of the organizers themselves. Like the chess world would collapse immediately without guys like Rex, Tata Steel, and Norwich Chess. Also, chess.com is a private organization that basically funds a massive part of professional chess at this point. But it does kind of raise the question of and I do think it's entirely reasonable to ban someone for trashing a hotel room, but there could be a scenario where, you can be banned from a chess tournament just for being slightly annoying. If Rex decides that he doesn't like someone, he can just ban them, and that's the end of it. And it's, especially if you're an American, like, there is a huge part of American chess But I tweeted about this as well. I think it's just, it'll make your life a lot easier if you just don't antagonize people and don't, trash hotel room. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's too much to ask. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do you think you are leading by example here, or is it more your theoretical opinion?
Well, I mean, I definitely don't lead by example for sure. Like, no. I wouldn't be upset if Emil Sadowski doesn't invite me to his birthday party. Like, I wouldn't.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't find that like a big surprise, and I would think, okay, I'm entitled to this opportunity to be invited to his birthday party. I'm by far the funniest person in chess. I could, make everyone laugh at the party. I think I would, add something to the event.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't
maybe
think that would be reasonable of me.
No, but I think also, I think I recall when Magnus had to play Caruana for the World Championship match. That will be, where is my memory? That will be 2018, right?
Yeah.
I think in general, St. Louis would like to organize, but they probably were not too happy doing it with FIDE in terms of, a large part of the money will have to be paid for FIDE and things like this. And, well, it's also, I guess the organizers wouldn't mind that they will be sort of incorporated in the official structure, but it's not so simple either. I mean, then it becomes arguments about rights and so on and so forth. And having this freedom of standing alone is quite, a plus. And the chess is a rather poor sport in many ways. I'm working for Magnus. I think he has no reason to complain. But still, a World Championship match maybe costs like 5 million euros. I've forgotten, right? It's rather small money compared to other sports, is my impression, right? So
yeah, and I think the amount of attention that it gets is pretty big considering the amount of money that gets spent on it. Like, it's like the match itself always makes like global news for sure. And
no. Also, I'm sitting here in a pretty luxurious surrounding in the north of Germany, and this is just a private sponsor who can apparently afford to invite 8 of the best players in the world and let them play a tournament on some kind of funny ways he would like to do. So, we are still a sport where an individual can just buy an event. And there's quite some of these individuals around in the world. We speak Sinkefield now, there is here in Germany and so on, right? Well, when I grew up, it was Van Oosterom who was sponsoring his funny events in Monaco. And, well, it gave a lot of income and a lot of interesting possibilities for players. It gave fun event for spectators and such. And he would, of course, just invite whoever, he wanted to. I think there is a story about that at some point someone had annoyed him. So he specifically insisted that please invite the second best player in this country just to spite, right? So, it gives you some power, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's these kind of things can happen. Overall, I think at the moment it is a positive for the chess world, because I think there's a bit more flexibility with these private events. There can be a little bit more creativity. It would be very silly if FIDE randomly put on this Chess 960 event with just 8 more or less random players, obviously very strong players, but kind of no real criteria. Like, FIDE or any governing body can't do an event like this. And I think you do need private organizers to have some creativity and to put together these things. So,
let's say in football, they try to suppress, let's say, having a private super league or something like that. But it's completely uncomparable entities, right? So it's...
I think the comparison is more kind of like... sometimes you'll have like tennis players playing like private exhibition matches.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is in chess, we kind of take these matches more serious, or these tournaments much more seriously than they would in other sports, because they basically are. It's like the money is serious, the players take them seriously. And it's just always the way chess has been. But yeah, I don't think Hans has dealt with it in the best way.
No. It's
going to be difficult for St. Louis to invite him back next year, but maybe they'll be able to.
It seems like, he made a huge mistake and killed the hotel room, and then instead of trying to minimize damage, he seemed to go in the other direction. I'm not the one to give PR advice. It's probably your area. But, to me, it seems like he persisted where maybe shutting up would have been a good idea. Well, that goes for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to say, but for me personally, I would have apologized. I would have paid the fine, and then I would have been quiet for a few months, and then maybe after a few months, you send an email and just be nice to people. And if they don't respond, like, just leave it another 6 months. My impression from, like, I've never been to St. Louis, but my impression is that the people that do the day-to-day running of the club and organize these things, they're quite kind of nice, friendly people. And I think, if you treat them like human beings, then you'll probably get a lot further than, demanding that you be invited to tournaments. Because, like, the reality is, like, no one is entitled.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way that the chess world is. And I think
generally you're right. Of course, I mean, Hans compares himself to Fischer at times, and Fischer might succeed with these things. Had succeeded, but I mean, well, it kind of helps being number one or number two in the world, right? I mean, if you're lower down the pecking order, I saw you made a tweet that it doesn't hurt to be behaving nicely. That surprised me a bit, but you're probably right. I mean, people don't want the extra attention that comes from controversy. They just want to avoid the problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think some controversy can be good, but in general, it's not something that sponsors really want overall. And it's also, if it's any amount of hassle for the organizers, they're already very busy organizing a tournament. This, like, in general, this is the time where they're running a tournament, they're run off their feet for 2 weeks, and then maybe afterwards they can relax. So in general, like, they don't really want extra. So is my impression.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, exceptions will definitely be made for the very best players in the world. I think Magnus, Nepo, Hikaru can all be a little bit more abrasive than other people. But if you're, outside of that very, very top group that can, bring in guaranteed viewership and guaranteed attention, I think you're going to struggle to get away with that kind of thing. Because, like, I guess there's definitely leeway for, like, Nepo. Well, I mean, we'll maybe talk about Nepo's tweets soon as well. But, Magnus will turn up late for games. He gets away with it. And if 2650, like, you shouldn't turn up late for games. You shouldn't be there.
I think you're right. Also, well, my point would be, I think Sinkfields and others who are these kind of mecenas, they understand that we are overpaying you guys, and we are doing it to be nice. So they expect you to return the favor in terms of being a little bit grateful and not create any kind of trouble, right? If you start treating it like you have the right for these kind of events with that kind of money involved, I mean, that could turn them off. I don't know, but I'm speculating a bit here in a way. At least that would be my impression, that they are kind of aware that they are doing something very good for the chess world, so at least they behave back, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I mean, you can definitely continue to behave in that way, but you need to get close to 2,800 to start that level of entitlement. And
fair enough. He has the confidence that he will do it. Maybe he's just putting himself under extra pressure. So, fair enough. Anyway, you started.
The pressure is fun though. Like, I enjoy, like, his ideas that he's the next Bobby Fischer. Like, I think this is excellent. Like, everything else aside, like, Hans' quest to be the next Bobby Fischer and doing this publicly and kind of be very open about it, I think is excellent content. Unironically, I think this is something that the chess world should have. So, like, I'm fully supportive of that stuff. But yeah, there are other aspects that kind of drag it a little bit. But yeah, maybe we should move on to the...
Yeah, you already almost started, right? Yeah, let's give Hans a rest, yeah. That, you mentioned Nepom's tweet, right? That's what you wanted to talk about, I guess, yeah?
Yeah, so during the Chessable Masters, Nepom actually got knocked out by Jose Martinez Alcantara, I think his name is. Josbem. And after the game, he tweeted, can't do much, and a laughing emoji. And then after that, he tweeted a kind of a private DM with Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, where they were joking about, the final can't be Josbem against And I think there's a pretty clear implication there that they think both of those guys are not playing entirely honestly.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, I mean, where are we on the legal scale? Is it basically saying it outright, or you think it's, I mean, there is still some kind of disclaimer?
I mean, I don't know how these things would hold up in court. For me personally, like my interpretation is just an outright accusation.
Yeah.
I think these are two of the names that come up so often in Kramnik's posts, and other people have talked about them, that I think I think it's completely irresponsible to pretend that that's not an accusation, and I think that's what it is.
It's very hard to interpret it other way. I think also maybe Jon Ludvig Hammer was basically stating that, well, this is basically an accusation and we'll debate it on Norwegian television. I didn't tune in to see what they actually spoke, so I cannot really quote it. But, I mean, well, if that's not an accusation, you basically have to fill it out, right? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, but also, we're kind of blaming Neville, but, Kramnik has been doing the same thing for months, where he's basically accused many, many different people. I think Lazovic and Jose Martinez's names have come up, but, he's accused Liam, he's accused Hikaru. Well, sorry. Kramnik has not accused anyone else.
Yeah, that will not...
So Kramnik doesn't say...
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he's clearly heavily insinuating, and this ends me up.
But that's also, I mean, can you just insinuate things? I mean, well, it is...
I mean, I don't know. If I was to start an account that only tweets about car robberies, and in between all of those car robberies, I just happened to mention that Kramnik was in the vicinity of a car robbery at this time, and I just keep shining the dots on the map, Kramnik was 1 mile away from this car robbery. This day he was 2 miles away. This day he was right next to it. I'm not saying that he robbed these cars.
No.
But also, I'm not saying that. It would be it's a very dedicated account that only talks about these.
Yeah. No, if you do it once, maybe we will let you go. But the 10th time you do it, I guess, it starts. Yeah. No.
Yeah, right now he basically only tweets about cheating, and he names a lot of people. So
But also this actual one, I mean, it's an ongoing event and such. It's very tricky. I mean, I saw also, I think, I mean, the one who was sort of hinted at that he lost to. He basically said he lost all kind of interest playing in the event after that, right? And
yeah, and I think, honestly, I don't know whether I'm way beyond. If the cheating happening at this level is way beyond my ability to
I have no clue.
And based on the kind of information I've seen from chess.com, they haven't found anything to suspect him, and they have a bunch of extra measures in place.
We are talking two live cameras filming him when he's playing, right?
2 live cameras filming him. There's screen share. There's sound on.
Yeah.
But it's obviously still not impossible. Just for example, you've got 2 cameras on you at all times. They don't look at your shoes. You could have something in your shoes. Just as an example.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get around things like that. But yeah, it does.
Also, I mean, if you have something in your shoes, we are talking about someone having a computer running that then send it to you in your feed in Morse code, and you have to process that information and make the move, right?
I mean, probably
not that easy.
No, probably not Morse code, but something that maybe that sends a signal when there's a blunder, for example.
Yeah. Also, I mean, to capitalize on a blunder, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that would not be enough for me.
I'm also unconvinced by this, but a lot of top players think that if they knew when there was a blunder once or twice a game, that they could dramatically.
I understand.
And I'm not.
That I understand, but that I thought was more classical chess. I mean, then it will make a massive difference. In such quick formats, I don't know. I mean, it will just be buzzing all the time, and you will, I mean, I don't know. Of course, it would help, but decisive, I don't know.
I'm actually not sure it would help. I'm kind of unconvinced that it would help, because I think it would decrease your level in the rest of the game. I think it would be very hard to play at the top of your game with that crutch there. So
these things.
I'm still unconvinced, but like maybe like I think Laurent talked about he was going to play this match before where he was allowed to check stockfish like 3 times or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it ever happened, and I'm kind of curious because my theory is that he would actually play worse overall than his regular level. But I'm not sure that match ever took place.
That could be trained and so on and so forth. But it's just that, it actually sounds very difficult. And you were saying chess.com, they seem to, you work for chess.com, so maybe there's a limit to what you can say. But your impression is that, they take it very seriously and actually try to make sure it can't happen, right?
I mean, they take it very seriously and they do a lot to make sure it can't happen. There's no way to 100% stop everything other than having, not even having one person in the room is enough, like, because that person could be paid off. Like, so you need like,
yeah.
I mean, you need kind of a lot of different measures, and it's going to be tough. I do have quite a bit of sympathy with Jose Martinez because it did seem like it was really affecting him afterwards, that like he just he's kind of sick of these accusations, and he is, over the board, his FIDE blitz rate is 2,700 something. I mean, he hasn't played the kind of World Rapid and Blitz as far as I could tell. So, maybe...
Where is he located?
He was in Peru, but he recently changed federations to Mexico.
Yeah.
So again, it's still kind of difficult to get to these big tournaments. And I don't recall him playing like any of the big tournaments.
No. And also, Lasevic has done quite okay in over the board quick formats, is my impression.
Yeah, he came 8th, I think, in the World Blitz.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, there are 7 who was higher than him, but still it's pretty respectable, especially with his classical rating and such, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are definitely some top players that would be reasonably happy with 8.
What else? I mean,
it's like...
Yeah. I could mention one, but yeah. But also, I mean, again, without taking any sides, it's just very horrible situation that some people feel that there's no way of checking this, and others saying, okay, we're completely innocent. There's no way of clearing ourselves for this kind of accusations. They seem to pop up on a regular basis, right?
Yeah, and I think it's difficult. So I think one of the interesting things is that Magnus Lazovic did win a game against Magnus, but Magnus won the match. And I'm kind of curious, like, how Magnus goes into a match like that when he knows that there's rumors or, people are talking. Because once those ideas get in your head, you can't get them out of you. You can't just, or maybe he can, and that's why he wins. But for me, like, if you suspect that that something might not be right, and actually Magnus has talked about this with the watch, with
the
guy who had his watch, and I forget his name. But yeah, like once the idea gets in your head, then it's very difficult to remove it. So I'm curious, like, how does Magnus approach a match like that when the idea is there and you still have to perform?
I haven't spoken much with him about that. I guess, my recollection from, the Anand Topalov match where I was a second there, we spoke a bit about it, and I think our conclusion was just that we're going to assume that there's no cheating involved, and if there's cheating involved, we're going to lose. It's not that difficult. So let's focus on what we can do something about. But I understand that it could start creep in. And, but, I mean, there is even people who has this theory that people will not dare cheating against Magnus because then, it would affect, that will be, too controversial or something like this, so they will fly under the radar. I mean, you can create any kind of weird narrative these days, right? And, you can always justify something. I have no clue, to be honest. But,
yeah, it just, like, it feels... I mean, the idea that people wouldn't cheat against Magnus, but they would cheat against Hikaru feels very odd to me. Like, I feel in terms of, like, pure viewership, I suspect more people were watching the Hikaru match because he was streaming it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it sounds less like... But no, I don't believe in such, to be honest. So, I have no good solutions. I'm happy it's not me who has to solve it. That I'm mainly just... My role is just to tell Magnus that was an awesome match when it's finished. So, I mean, that I can do.
So one of the other issues with these kind of insinuations or accusations is that people are, at this point, saying that there should actually be consequences for false allegations, which is the case with FIDE. Like, if you accuse someone of cheating over the board publicly, and there was a case where someone got banned for 6 months, possibly, there can be consequences to this. So, like, is it time for there to be consequences for? Well, I mean, Kramnik doesn't play so much, but for Nepo, I don't know.
No, in general, it would be reasonable. I mean, for instance, there is definitely things about the FIDE elections I would like to sort of talk more about. But I mean, if you don't have any kind of proof, you're supposed to shut up in the legal environment. Maybe here it's a bit different. But I mean, well, that's also why they're fretting a bit careful. But, well, we are debating, has this line been crossed? Can you actually say something like that? And I would say generally you can't. But, well, I'm, an old guy believing in some kind of, legal principles. Maybe online you can, there is more room for these kind of things. But, well, also, I mean, if he took the case to the FIDE Ethics Committee, he would have a chance, in my opinion. Wouldn't you think so?
I would think so. But I mean, the part of it that makes it a bit uncomfortable is, like, I don't think Nepo is dishonest when he is things like this. I think it's like, whether he's right or wrong, and I have no idea. I think he genuinely believes that these people are cheating.
Yes.
And it feels difficult to, like, I'm not convinced that he should be punished for something that he is just wrong about. Like, because I don't think there's malice there. He's not trying to be, trying to actively harm someone. He just genuinely believes to cheat. It's
a good point you're making. I don't think he's a sore loser or anything like that. It's
no, genuinely also a sore loser.
Yeah, but I mean, but I mean, well, but I mean, I'm not into the legal details of the Niemann thing, but I mean, as far as what lawyers was explaining, I mean, well, it depends on jurisdiction. That in Europe, perhaps we need to have evidence, while in the States, as long as you actually believe it to be true, what you are saying, there is more room in a way. I'm not into these kind of details, but I get your point that Nepom is raising a subject he feels strongly for, and that he believes what he's saying, right? I mean, well, I guess our normal understanding is that if you don't have evidence, you will actually have to shut up. But it's interesting in that sense. But
yeah, I don't think there's going to be any big changes coming up soon.
No,
unfortunately, it's an ongoing thing.
I don't know how I mean, if chess.com actually has rules about this, that you cannot do something like that. Maybe they just have some standard process.
I'm not sure, like, what the technical rules are. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not even sure if the players are actually under contract for the Champions Chess Tour. Like, I actually don't. I know in the past, like, when it was on Chess24, it was a much smaller event. So, like, basically everyone who played signed a contract. And these contracts were pretty long. I suspect there was probably something in them to say, like, you can't disparage other players during the event or disparage the organizers, or something like that. But I'm not sure if there actually is that in chess.com, because there's so many people playing it now. Like, and which is a good thing, because they have this big open qualifier. But it does mean that, like, you can't have 200 people signing a contract for every event, or maybe you have to point, but, like, it's clearly a massive increase in the level of kind of work behind the scenes.
Maybe there is something in the general terms when you create an account that they will say that covers it.
Yeah, but even that, it would be very difficult to cover things off platform. Like, you probably can't do it on chess.com. You probably can't accuse people of cheating on chess.com on their platform. But, like, I guess if you do it in your own social media, I doubt they have.
Yeah, then it becomes your private legal dispute. And
yeah, I mean, you can still do that with kind of contracts for a specific event.
Yeah, also
fairly normal.
Well, in the FIDE system, I mean, there is a separate ethics commission. You can appeal and so on. There is a functioning legal system, but well, that would be a bit much asking chess.com to have their own system like that, right? I mean,
Yeah, and again, it's difficult because, like, I don't necessarily think Nepo should be punished for it, but it does seem like, I mean, you also have to consider, like, the other players' reputations, the other players' feelings, like how it affects their tournament. Just, you're in the middle of a tournament and one of the best players in the world accuses you of cheating. This is going to be distraction if you're an ordinary person. So, like,
I don't know how it was back in the days in cycling when, doping started appearing. I mean, if you could actually talk about it in public, or maybe just everybody was doped, so it didn't matter in that sense. But no, it becomes a weird juridical situation. And I don't think people should be able to do like Nepom is doing in principle, but also starting to ban people for 6 months would also feel wrong in a way. It's just a very annoying spot we're in. That's also.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, it would feel very awkward to, ban Nepo when it's clear there's also people cheating who haven't been caught, and they're like, there's no way that they can catch every single cheater, so it does feel like a very awkward situation where they ban someone for
we all
complaining about the problem.
It's a relevant problematic. I think no one is debating. It's just that is this particularly case wrong? Well, we think it quite likely could be, and then it has quite some consequences. But no, it's crap. And my feeling is that next time we meet, maybe not next time, but I mean, there's going to be more episodes like this during this year. It's a continuing theme, right?
Yeah, it does seem like it's not going anywhere. I think Jess Dogomovic are working on some new measures. I think they've talked about sending proctors to people's houses. I think that can definitely be helpful, but like I'm not sure if you refuse. What happens if you refuse? What happens if you just play that day and then wait till the proctor goes home? Like, I don't.
So, but also, I mean, well, okay, one of the players lives in Mexico. That's possible. The other one lives in Belarus, as far as I understand, and I would guess Minsk. I mean, it's not that easy getting there under the current political situation. I mean, good luck sending a chess.com representative there, is my impression. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely practical difficulties involved, but also
financial.
To Hikaru, for example, like, if the suspicion, which is clearly what Kramnik's suspicion was, is that Hikaru's cheating. Okay, you send someone to Hikaru's house to watch him. He plays at 27.99 level, and then the proctor leaves and he goes back up to 28.05 level. Like, if he's cheating, he's only cheating a very, very small margin.
Yeah, but also,
I mean, you can't prove.
But again, it's just one person, as you say. That's also a weak link. I mean, there will definitely be people saying, okay, is this a legitimate representative? I mean, they will typically, choose someone who is somewhat local, right? I mean, it's never going to convince those who are convinced because there is a person at their home, right? I mean...
No, I agree. And I think it would be very hard to appease Kramnik at this point, especially because you can't even use the over the board idea. Okay, well, Hikaru could play a match against Kramnik over the board. Okay, well, Hikaru would crush Kramnik over the board, like 10-0. Like, I don't think it would.
10-0 is...
In Blitz at this point, I think...
in Blitz, you are probably right. Yeah, sure. 10-0 is maybe too much, but...
yeah, okay.
I'm not
going to be a heavy...
Yeah, I'm not going to take any bets on the result. You're right. I mean, no way. So
I don't think the result of the match would be in question.
That's exactly the result of the match, and no one is putting any money on that. So that is.
So yeah, I don't know how you would. I don't know how you would prove that Hikaru is innocent. Like, other than the fact that he is Hikaru. Like, basically, that's where we're at now, because any measures we take, he is just a very strong player. Like, that's...
But that also creates this problem that, I mean, Hikaru is cleared because he's Hikaru, but, well, it makes it difficult for the new promising generation, right? I mean, Hikaru wasn't Hikaru until he suddenly was Hikaru, right? I mean...
Yeah, I think this is part of the problem, is that there is this... We did have this COVID period where a lot of these players didn't really get the chance to play off the board, and now we've had, the war in Ukraine, which has obviously affected Lazovic and possibly some of the young Russians as well. I think some of the young Russians, because I think, one of the interesting things is that Kramnik names Russians maybe more than any other nationality. He's extremely suspicious of Russian players. If you look at the people he names, like, there's a lot of Russians in that. But I think we are in this kind of weird period where it's not necessarily that they haven't all had a chance to play over the board, but, like, they definitely really haven't played over the board tournaments against the previous generation. And there does seem to be a generational gap between, like Nepo, MVL, Caruana. Also, Magnus, I think, is pretty suspicious as well. And a lot of the younger people. And all of these guys are in their 30s now. Like, they're still very strong players, but they are at the point where teenagers are catching up with them rapidly. And, some of the teenagers, like Ali Reza is basically there already. And I don't think the other teenagers are that far.
But Ali Reza has been there enough to that they have a feel of him as a person, right? I mean, Ali Reza is someone they know. I mean, they've played with him several times over the board, and I think.
Yeah, but he kind of got into the world elite just before COVID.
Yeah, I get your point.
A chance to kind of meet him, and I don't think any of the top guys are very suspicious of Ali.
No.
Maybe Kramnik probably.
So, yeah. If that's your only example, we're not buying it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is suspicious of Ali, but no. Yeah, it's I don't know. We'll have many more episodes.
I'm afraid so. But it's no, it's an interesting topic because it's so difficult to solve. But also we all understand that it has to be in some kind of way. But no, I don't know. I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's still functional. I mean, they have events, they have good prices, they have good viewership from chess.com's perspective. Maybe that's the bottom line. As long as it doesn't hurt the popularity, well, what can we do, right?
Yeah, and I think, the outcome of the Chessable Masters was 2 matches between Magnus and Ali Reza. Like, it doesn't, to me, that means that the system, although it might be not working perfectly, it's not broke. Like, these are basically players that were. I mean, like, I know Ali Reza is slightly lower at this point, but like, I think Magnus against Ali Reza as a final of any tournament is basically not an unexpected result.
No. I mean, that feels. No one is doubting the legitimacy of that, right? It's not the 2 lowest players suddenly playing the final against each other, right? So I get your point there, and yeah.
So I do have a major criticism for the Champions Chess Tour and Chess.com and the Chessable Masters is that they didn't make Ali Reza and Magnus play from the same room when they were in the same hotel you're in right now. And I think really missed a trick here. Like, they should have just made them play from the same hotel room, ideally lying on the bed together.
Okay, now I think
next to each other with their laptops. I think it would be a very, very good find.
I think there was talks about it, not to the extent that you're describing with the same bed, but it would have been logical that they tested the venue like this. But well, there seems to be no agreement on that, and that's it's. I mean, it would be typical. Also, I cannot imagine that Chess.com would mind that some other venue would get some attention. I think they would just think it's funny and a good gimmick, right? So that is a bit of a pity in a way. But I mean,
I don't think Chess.com would mind. Is my impression. I think
no.
I mean, they're partners with this 960 event that you're.
Yeah.
So like, I think we're pretty supportive of that. And also, in general, I think it highlights how well these online events can cooperate with over-the-board events, that the players can, I mean, quite often we've seen it over the past couple of years where people will play in an over-the-board event in the morning, the afternoon, and then go online at night and play one of these online events. And I think that's a really good addition for the chess world.
I think also, well, from the chess world, and especially from the players, there's a strong incentive to get this system to work because, I mean, here actually very few of the money goes into expenses. There's not 100 people who has to fly around the world and such. And basically everybody can play, everybody can qualify. If this works, it's great. That someone wants to put in so much money as chess.com does, it's great, right? I mean, everybody should have an incentive for this thing panning out, right? So, I mean, yeah. What I thought I wanted to say something. Yeah. I don't know if you completely object to talking any kind of chess, but the final was quite spectacular, right? I mean, Magnus lost the first 2 games, and as his coach, who had just played 18 holes of golf with him and tired him, I was a little bit nervous at that point for job reasons whatsoever. But he lost the final 2.5, 1.5. But then because of the system, he had sort of the one final advantage, so they had to play 2 extra games, right? And then somehow he managed to prevail there and actually played it pretty well in the end. So
yeah, it's a double elimination. So Alireza had already lost the match earlier, I think. I'm not sure who lost it. Maybe Jose Martinez. I'm not. Oh no,
yeah,
it wasn't Nepal. He beat Nepal. I'm not sure. No, but anyway, he already lost.
I'm sure he did. Maybe he lost to Nepal first. I actually forgotten, to be honest. So yeah, it's our usual level of preparation, and especially from the coach of. I mean, theoretically, I should have been looking through Nepom's. Firouzja's game for preparation, right? So yeah, it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
but he lost.
No, the final was very, very exciting. I was very much looking forward to it. Yeah, just
and also, I mean, I'm also grown up with classical chess, and I think that's the real kind of chess, and so on and so forth. But this stuff is pretty exciting if you look at it as a sport event, right? I mean,
yeah, I enjoy the rapid matches much more than rapid tournaments.
Yeah, I think it's that feelings like a football match or a tennis match. So, you win. It's okay, you're up 1-0. Okay, now you're down 2-1. It flows back and forth like this, right? I mean, it becomes a pure sport. It loses the, academical and scientific aspect to a huge degree. But maybe that's just how it is. I don't know. Or, I mean...
Yeah, no, I think from a sporting point of view, like, the rapid chess is very exciting to watch. I think the match aspect, I think, for me, is the most important part. I think, like, a rapid round robin is significantly less interesting.
I think what also really matters is that the players have to care. If the players just thinks, this is rapid, I will take the money, but there's no prestige involved, it loses a lot of appeal. It has to feel that something is a stake, right? Else it becomes just weird in a way. But if the players care, and you can see they care, I think it becomes pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, my only thing that I would prefer is like longer matches, and I think like, for me the Rapid World Championship should be like long matches. I'd really like to see Magnus's idea of like a 50-game rapid match. Not ideally. I wouldn't like to see it replace the Classical World Championship. That's the only part I disagree with. But like, I would really be interested in a 50-game rapid match of Magnus against someone.
I'm sure he's mentioned 50 games, but
I think he mentioned like it was a lot of 4-game set, but I think he wanted like I'm not sure if he said
maybe
10 or
you're right. I get your point. If it's 14 rounds classical, then if you play 4 rapid games a day, we get to that number. I get your point.
Yeah, I think it worked out somewhere. Maybe it was like 48 games is like would be the exact comparison.
I mean, well, this has been sort of Magnus and many's general point that. Well, if you have 4 hours available and you want to find out who is the best player, I mean, 4 rapid games will give a much stronger indication than 1 classical game. I understand that there will be a lot with.
I do. Yeah, I mean, my only objection is I don't want to replace classical, but like as an addition to classical, like I would be totally on board with that, and I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet. To be honest.
No, but I think there it comes in again that. I don't want to replace classical either, but if you don't replace classical, people will just see it as a fun experiment. That doesn't matter. And, well, it really has to matter to make sense. I think, that's, if the world title is at stake, okay, then it really matters. And, well, you have to find some kind of idea where it really matters. The same year, I'm in Germany now, and, well, I'm extremely excited. This is going to be Fischer Random, and for the first time, they will have classical time control, so they can really try to think, and we will see are humans able to play this well or not. But if no one cares from the players, if you just think it's funny, then it loses its appeal. I don't know if they will care enough, if they'll think, okay, this is extremely important, but some of them have candidates next, and some of them, well, they probably care about their normal chess things. If it's only Magnus who thinks this is extremely exciting, it will lose its appeal. So I think a lot of it is in the conception of the players.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. And I'm curious to see how this event goes. I know Magnus is quite a big fan of this format, and it is new to have classical chess at this in Fischer Random.
I really think it's the first time. I mean,
for sure. I think. So yeah, I'm very curious how it will go. I'm kind of worried about your job security. If like,
are you kidding me? I have no idea. I mean, yeah. Then I have to be a leading expert on Fisher Random to give advice, but maybe it's not really going to happen. So I don't know.
You don't get a lot of time before the position, right? The position is
I think
basically they sit at the board and they get told them where the pieces.
normally they would get the position and have 15 minutes where they would discuss with a second. And that, of course, is good for my job situation, at least if I'm chosen to talk with. But here, the idea is that they want to start immediately. But yesterday, I think it was decided that before the games, because, well, the organizers need to set up the position. So there will be a 10-minute break. And I think they will separate the players in white and black, and they can discuss among each other. All the players seem to agree on that. So that's how it's going to be. I have no idea. I mean, imagine, the last round, someone is leading by half point. It's a qualifier. They start with 7 rapid games, and then they play matches. So maybe it doesn't matter. But you could argue that, why you're going to, if you have a good idea in a position, why will you tell someone else about it and such? But no, they will have some kind of intro like that. But else in general, I like the idea they get the position and then you start. I mean, you might see people thinking for 20 minutes in the beginning, but so be it in a way. So we will see.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if you could start the clocks and you're allowed to talk to your second until you make the first move. Let's see how long they would actually spend talking to you.
Yeah. I mean,
obviously you wouldn't have access to your lap. You would have to either have it in your head or you don't have it.
Sorry?
You would have, if he was still able to talk to you, you would have to have the information in your head.
Yeah. No. I mean, it should be general. I mean, of course, at some point, I was thinking about, does people exist who will be capable of remembering the theory for 960 positions? I don't know.
I think with Chessable you could do it.
You think so? Yeah. So, no, I don't know. But it's going to be very interesting. But again, as I said, it's a bit sad. But I think simply games not being rated makes it very different from players. I mean, we spoke about this pain of losing. I think the pain of losing rating points is a big part of it. If a game is not rated, it's going to feel much, much lighter. I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, obviously, it's definitely true. But also, we just talked about the Champions Chess Tour, and those games are effectively
You're right.
And it's, I think a lot of, when you add in, like the Champions Chess Tour, Title Tuesdays, the Speed Chess Championship, there's quite a lot of chess that's actually unrated nowadays. And, 10 years ago, basically no serious chess was unrated at all. Like, this is all relatively new. And that, to me, I think they'll just treat it the same. I think, like 10 years ago, I think you would be 100% correct because serious chess was unrated. Other than maybe like Amber Melody was like the blindfold, I guess, wasn't rated.
But it was a very exceptional event, yeah.
Although I guess we didn't even have rapid ratings.
Of course, in Champion Chess Tour, quite some money is at stake, but I guess the pain of losing comes more from the prestige and the unpleasant rather than the direct financial implications. So maybe actually you're making a good point that it's not the rating, it is kind of the prestige. And, the question is, does Chess 960 have enough prestige? I mean, let's imagine somebody ends up last. Will we think, okay, this guy is exposed as not as strong as a player? We would not really think that, would we?
No, I don't think so. I think the problem that Fisher Random or 960 has had is that we've never really established like regular events.
No,
we had the World Championship last year, but I don't know when the next World Championship is. I don't know if there will be another. But I guess they called it Fisher Random. Also, that's one of the problems. Like, people need to stop changing. This would be my big criticism. It's like we just need to. I don't really care what the name is. I think 960 is probably the best because it's easy to type and
and also, I mean, also in 960 sort of then we there is no fight about who gets honor from the name. It's just a number referring to it, right? So then it's not an issue. Where
if you explain, if someone says, okay, why is it called 960? You go, okay, there's 960 possible start position. Someone says, why is it Fisher Random? And you're like, okay, where does the fishing come in?
Yeah.
Does it?
No.
Like, there's a lot of explanation required to like explain to maybe someone who's more casual involved with chess. But yeah, I don't think it's helping Fisher Random by changing it to chess 9LX or Fisher
Oh,
Random or
no.
960 or
Yeah.
Goat Chess or
Yeah. I agree with you, but I have to check if my contract here says I have to call it freestyle chess. So yeah, we'll see.
Also, freestyle chess at some point was what they were calling like advanced chess, where you could actually play with an
Yeah. I mean, no freestyle. I mean, no, chess 960 is, it's neutral and it has some exact point, so it makes a lot of sense, right? But yeah, we will see.
But yeah, I think like having some kind of regular event would be a big step forward, and I would hope this becomes the one that we have every year, just becomes part of the chess calendar.
I thought that, I mean, we have actually not mentioned FIDE, but I thought they were supposed to have a world championship in Fisher Random or whatever they would call it, but that it was cancelled this year or something like this, right? So maybe also it's hard to find organizers who will pay a lot of money for it and so on. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. It seemed like it was pretty successful last year.
Was it previous maybe, or was it last year really?
I don't know at all.
I think it was.
I thought it was last year, but I might be wrong already.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in 2024 now. I think it was 2022 to be honest.
Okay, well, I mean, this
anyway.
even more correct. We really need a regular something.
No, I mean, exactly, like World Rapid and Blitz, it would be good to have it on a regular basis. But, I mean, the funding has to come from somewhere, and as both of us ideally don't want to have Russian state sponsors, we need someone who wants to support it on a commercial basis. And maybe that's not so simple. I don't know.
Yeah, although, this tournament that's taking place, I imagine it has a pretty decent budget.
Of course. I mean, I guess legally they cannot call it the World Championship. I guess, I mean, does FIDE have the rights for one World Championship or for all 960 World Champion positions? I don't know how it works. Probably FIDE has...
I think the thing they claim jurisdiction over is the phrase Chess World Championship.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that the big phrase is the one that... I think
you cannot call it
the Constitution or in the hand. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could call it 960 World Championship, like.
Yeah, and you can also argue that, I don't know, if you chose, I mean, well, if FIDE is not doing World Championships, can they also claim jurisdiction over it? Who knows? But I mean, they're not calling this a World Championship as far as I understand, and we will see. I really hope it becomes a success. Should we end on an extremely rare sort of high note, or you want to criticize?
I think we should end on a high note, and then because next week we'll have cheating again, and something else. So, although I will go back to a slightly negative note, which is not really, but Hans did tweet just before we went live that he is going to be posting before and after pictures of every hotel he visits this year, and I think all chess players should.
Oh, really? I'm just pushing it. Yeah.
I think it should be a mandatory thing that all chess players do for 2024.
Okay. Well, could start a hashtag, but I don't know. I mean, well, isn't this kind of reasonable to...
This is how we get big sponsors into chess. Like, we get all the hotels to sponsor.
Not really. I'm afraid that we are sort of downplaying that we have a product and we have to make it weird.
There's also
that subject. Yeah. My family is coming in 8 hours. I actually have to clean up my hotel room before that. But in general, I thought you are allowed to leave your hotel room in a messy state. Isn't that kind of the point? I mean, you pay for cleaning service, or is that included?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't. I always kind of clean it up before I leave because it's less work for someone else. But yeah, I think as long as you don't break anything, you're okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's see. But if you remind me, I will put up a picture of my room when I leave.
Excellent.
Good.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Anyway, also there is a buffet waiting for me, and food is something I take seriously. So we will have to end it here. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Well, I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.